Hey everyone, it's me, Curtis Barassa. I am going to be interviewing Sarah today. And Sarah, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm a grade one teacher in Regina, and I'm in the Catholic system, and I've been teaching grade one for 4 years now.
Awesome. Thank you for chatting with me. And today we are going to be diving in a little bit about Seesaw and learning how Sarah is using Seesaw in the classroom. So Sarah was just telling me that she is a Seesaw ambassador, so that is pretty cool that we are both Seesaw ambassadors. And I've known Sarah for a little bit. We went to undergrad school together, and now that we are in the same graduate class, so that's pretty cool. So thanks for chatting with me.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's dive into question one here. So, how are you using Seesaw in the classroom?
So I started using Seesaw my third year teaching, so 2 years ago, and initially I started with a free version as well. Um, our division has a connected educator program, and so that's kind of what started my journey with Seesaw. Was before I applied to the Connect Educator program, I explored Seesaw a little bit, and just the way that it looks and the way it's set up, I realized that I needed more student devices in order to use it. So I applied and got into that program. And then last year I started looking at implementing it. And so this year, with my second year doing it, I've changed how I use it a little bit, but a lot of the ways that I use it in a grade one context is I started off at the beginning of the year. We do a lot of talk about tablets and why we get to use them and do some digital citizenship lessons around that. And then we go into slowly integrating Seesaw into different subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always start with math in my classroom and using it as a math center instead of doing math worksheets. So I used to do centers where one whole center was you get your workbook and you sit down and you do your worksheets, and I would go in and correct worksheets and whatnot. And so that was the first center that I decided just to get rid of completely and turn it into a digital center. And so the kids would grab the tablets and I would upload one activity. And so from doing that at the beginning of the year, I just started to see that they didn't need to do as much in order to do
Mm-hmm.
quality work. So that was the biggest thing that I first learned with Seesaw, is that it allowed me to do expect less of them, not quality wise, but just quantity. So they weren't as overwhelmed with, oh, I have to sit here and do like a ton of questions.
Yeah.
They just did a few and it gave me that snapshot, almost like an exit flip in a way. So I would have taught them the concept prior at my center, and then they would go and do an activity on Seesaw. And so
Cool.
that's the other great thing about Seesaw, as you probably know, is they have the activities. So when I
Mm-hmm.
first started, they had just opened up all the activity areas. And so I started by just uploading some worksheets that I'd already used in the past just because I wasn't comfortable yet. And then you go in and you can search all the activities that other teachers have made and ones that people within your school division have made. And so there's just so much potential with that area of it. And then I started to fool around with making some of the activities myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was a big part of it. And then sending that home was another piece of the feedback that I loved right away with the math, was those worksheets that used to just sit in their duotang and not really, they were of no use really because the parents weren't seeing them. It was now being sent home every single day, and parents were able to see right away if they were
Yeah.
understanding the concept or not.
Yeah, it's nice that you, with the ability to send like all the work home, is you start to give your students a little bit of an audience, so that they
Yeah,
can go in and so that your students can go in and they can share, and they're actually doing it for a purpose, and others are able to see. So that is awesome.
yeah, they're pretty excited to get it sent home, and then they're also very aware of the grading system. And so that's another thing that makes it really easy, is that on the comment section of Seesaw, I could just put in like an NYB, M, or EU, like really simply. And so
Yeah.
parents knew right away, and I didn't even have to go in and like check mark each question, because a lot of it was just simple math, especially in a grade 1 level. It might be
Yeah.
different higher up, but the parents could see, oh, they're getting a B on this. What did they get wrong? Or, oh, they're getting an M, or, and so then the kids would go home and look at the work with their parent and work through that. So it started in math, and then I slowly integrated into the other subjects throughout the year. And I've done it both that way both times. And then they get familiar with it, and then we start using it for writing. Sometimes they'll upload their work. Some of the things I like the best about it is that they can make their own content.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big piece that I've given them a little bit more freedom with this year. So last year I did a lot of stuff on tablets, and then I felt like I was missing things. So we have a maker space in our classroom, and so they'll create things and make a plan and everything, and then they'll actually be able to record what they made on Seesaw and show their plan book and send those videos home of things they're building. And so that's a neat aspect that I kind of gave them free rein. I showed them how to do it and the steps. And as soon as they learn the steps for that, and they're excited because they want to show their parents, like, oh, I made this car, I made this truck, or whatever they built at school. And so then they learn the steps, I find, like, way quicker.
Yeah, for sure. And like it's really nice that you are giving the kids the control to do that recording themselves, right? Lots of times when I go into classrooms and I try to model for teachers, they're always super fearful and afraid of giving that classroom control away to the students and getting the students to manage that. But I think it just makes it so much more powerful when the kids take full responsibility for their work. And like I know lots and lots of teachers think, oh, like my grade 1s, they wouldn't be able to handle it, or oh, my kindergartens, they're like, no, like that just doesn't work. Like, no, like your kids can handle this. It's easy. Like you do have to train them, right? Like you can't just give them the device and tell them to go. Like it does take time, but it is definitely possible. So that is super cool what you're doing. So
so it's neat. And like, again, it's very much like you said, people will say like, oh, can they handle that, can they do that? And every time I ask myself that, I just break down the steps further and then hand it to them, and like they surprise you every time. Like one of the math centers is they were actually going on to a whitelisted app, which is just an app that isn't actually an app, it's a website, right? And so they would go on, they would build a pattern sheet, or it's like an app that has all these different shapes and stuff. So they can just make all these creations that are digital, and then they're screenshotting and uploading to Seesaw. It's like 10 or 15 steps to do it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna be able to handle this, but let's just try it, because it's just like an extra time part of the center. And so I put the steps up, and within like a few weeks, they were all uploading, and they were making movies with them. They would upload like multiple, like all their steps of their building. They would screenshot them as they were going, and then they would upload it. And then if you click through the Seesaw activity really quickly, it like makes a little movie of what they built. And
so cool.
I'm teaching at my teacher time, and they're just sitting there and doing that. And it's a lot of times it's those kids that are finishing the curriculum activity quickly, and it's that enhanced learning piece for them, and it's totally engaging the entire time. So again, it's just like you might question if they can do it or not, but if you break it down enough and model it enough, I feel like they always just like surpass you. I'm like, I didn't even know you could do that.
No, that's so crazy. And like I think lots of the fear just comes from like ourselves and teachers not being comfortable using it themselves, and they think that their students are going to be the same way. But like our students are very much so curious and trying to figure out lots of that stuff on their own too, right? And they're willing to take, I think they're probably more willing to take risks than teachers would be, and kind of experimenting with some of that stuff. So that was just so cool. So I'm definitely going to be sharing your story with that to some of my reluctant teachers with Seesaw. So that is that's so cool. Our next sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that's pretty much what we're doing. There's all kinds of things, but those are kind of the like contrasting.
That is awesome. So kind of outside of what you are doing, building, or not building, but recording and getting students to record, and then with your activity stuff, how are you making connections and building relationships within Seesaw?
So there's a few different ways you can use Seesaw, and I'm sure you're aware of those as well, but if you have one-to-one devices, it looks different than your shared devices.
Yeah.
So if you're able to have one-to-one, kids can open up their own account and see their work, and you can open up your content so other kids can see it. I've shied away from that just from my own personal understanding of it right now and kind of where I stand with that. That may change if I ever get convinced that way, but I find their work, I just keep their work between me, them, and their parents.
Yeah.
So I don't have them communicating with each other through Seesaw. But with the parents is the big piece. And again, it's sending the work home, having their learning portfolios are all digital, and all their goal setting is digital. And so they'll go on and do all of those pieces, and they're all separate folders. And so parents are constantly getting notified where their kids are at and what they need to work on. And kids are doing it digitally, and then they're able to look back in their digital folders and see, okay, this is where I was at, this is where I'm at now. So it's very much me, them, and their parents. And then the collaboration piece sometimes I see in the classroom is they'll like work on a project together. Like we were making dance videos the one day, and so they would record their group making their dance steps or whatever, and then they would, like, it would go, they have figured out how to apply it to multiple students folders, and then it sends home to just those parents' families. So they do some collaboration that way with it, but yeah, I would say mostly it's me, the students, and the parents, and then I use the communication piece, which is the inbox on Seesaw, to send home all of our like weekly updates or messaging. I've tried a little bit of blended learning with that as well, which is a new piece.
And you were doing your blended learning, that was part of your major project, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I haven't sent those ones home yet, but I'm hoping to next year use them in that capacity. So at the beginning of the year, I tried one blended lesson when I first heard about it, and I just sent it through the inbox of Seesaw. I recorded myself learning, like teaching parents how to make words, because there's a very specific way in grade 1, and I was like, oh, practice this at home, but it's hard for parents to know, well, what does that actually look like in the classroom, and make sure we're on the same page. So I sent home, I think it was like a 5-minute video, and I asked the kids the next day, I'm like, who watched it? And they're like, we did. And they had their paper out and they were writing words at home. So that was kind of a neat piece that I would love to like try a little bit more in the future, but it's totally possible with Seesaw, even just with the tools that Seesaw offers within it. You can make videos and send them home. You don't even have to go to another source.
And I think just with kind of the whole world situation right now too, it'll be super interesting because I know that Seesaw just released like their remote learning platform.
Right.
And so kids can, so even, like young students who aren't logging in with their emails can get their own individual QR code that takes them to post into their own journal. So I think that just kind of adds like a whole extra powerful piece kind of going along with that too. So
yeah, it's totally that connection to home that we don't have right now, that they've already stepped up and made that possible. And I know I told my kids already that like they can send messages, because I think if it's just like a day and a kid sent a message through Seesaw to me and was like, I miss school, and like all of these, or they can like they'll send pictures of what they're doing at home through Messenger and that piece, so they can connect with you. I haven't really done the connecting with each other or the blog aspect. I don't know if you know a lot about their blog.
Yes, so that's kind of, I've dived in a little bit deeper into the blog, and one of my previous interviews with her name is Elizabeth Beno from Texas, who uses the blog quite a bit. She was kind of showcasing how she uses the blog with the Global Read Aloud and connecting with other classrooms. So I thought that was just kind of a super cool idea. So you said that you haven't really dived into much of the blog yet.
No, I've gone to some PD on it, and again, it's one of those things that I haven't been convinced of just yet, just with the privacy pieces with it. Some teachers use it really yeah, like they're like, I think some of them, their classes is live video feed sometimes, and different things like that. And so I've only seen pieces of what it can look like. I'm sure there's multiple ways it could look. I just haven't looked into how that could affect different permissions I would need and what that would look like.
Yeah, and like I remember I was just kind of playing around and trying to see how to set it up, and there is different ways that you can set it up. So I know that there one was public.
Yes.
But public meaning only searchable through Seesaw or only searchable through the World Wide Web. So I don't think you can just like go in and search for random people's Seesaw blogs. I don't think. I think you have
No.
to have a Seesaw account.
Yeah.
But the private one is kind of nice because it's password protected. So if you ever did just connect with like another class, of course you would still need those permissions, but kind of keeps it almost like a digital pen pal type style.
Yeah, and I like that it's all in the same platform. That's the one thing Seesaw does really nicely is they offer you like all those options of connecting in one platform. So students, like especially young students, don't have to learn multiple different apps things.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just so nice that Seesaw is like integrated with so many different things. And I didn't realize, but like in so many education apps. So are you guys using iPads, I'm assuming?
Well, so for Connected Educator, it's Android, but our school has iPads that were donated quite a while back. So up until this year, there was a lot of issues with the update in the fall. I don't know if your teachers experienced that, but I could use my iPads and my Androids, which was perfect because I'm 2-to-1, but I had some extra iPads, so I could almost get my whole class on. But now the iPads only work for uploading video or picture or like text, but you can't do any activities through the iPads. They've kind of turned into a brick a bit. So that's too bad. So we are using Android right now for like most of the things that we do.
Yeah.
But I do find that Apple works like, I don't know, I just find that it works better with the app, but I'm not sure what does your school division work with.
We usually use, so all of our we don't really have any Android tablets in the school division. So we usually use Apple, but like I'm just amazed on like the amount of integration that Apple has with like the other apps and Seesaw, that you can send stuff directly into Seesaw. You don't have to like upload it to your camera roll and then upload it from Seesaw into there. You can just, if I'm using, I don't know, like Book Creator or
oh really?
Yeah, you just kind of export it to Seesaw and it'll just automatically go into Seesaw. So it's like pretty slick. So
wow.
And I found that's one of my things that I've really dived into too, is looking at how all these apps integrate with Seesaw. So I'm gonna go back and try to find that and add that to my blog too. So
that's neat. Yeah, I wonder if that is possible with Android. I'm not like I've never seen it come up, but we haven't used a lot of like apps that would go into it as well.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that that I've kind of dived into too. So I'm super interested. I really want to get some of our teachers to explore the blog, especially next year with the Global Read Aloud. And because I have teachers who have connected with the Global Read Aloud before. Do you know what the Global Read Aloud is?
I've heard it, and I think our school division has promoted it before. I've never participated in it, I don't think. Our school division does like something on Flipgrid with one book every month, but is that...
Well, kind of. So the Global Read Aloud, what they do is they have kind of like 4 different sections. So they have like a early, I would say like K-3 kind of section where they do an author study. And so it's just like a group of like 3 or 4 picture books, and you basically do activities. The teachers kind of get together and they plan some activities and get their kids to collaborate together through online. So I've had teachers collaborate on Flipgrid, but I think using Seesaw, I honestly think that Seesaw might even be a little bit more powerful than Flipgrid, just because I think Seesaw is basically Flipgrid on steroids.
Yes, agreed.
So I think I would be really interested to see some of my younger primary students connecting classrooms with the Global Read Aloud using the blogs.
Hmm.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be neat. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think? What is your main purpose of using Seesaw in your classroom?
I think the piece that won me over the quickest with it, I still wasn't totally convinced when I started. I just was the watching my families react to it.
Yeah.
And then watching my kids. So I think the biggest piece is your parents and your homes, because once they buy into it, the kids buy into it. Because if they're not, then uploading to Seesaw is pointless, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody's seeing it. But if you've got buy-in from home and the parents are excited and the parents are talking about what they're seeing, and all you have to say is like, we're going to upload this to Seesaw today, and they're like, yay, like they're just freaking out. So it doesn't take much, but it does take parents buy-in. And so for me, watching that happen, and then watching parents take what I sent home and work on things at home
Mm-hmm.
was huge. So I would send home things, and I wouldn't even say like work on this. It would just be maybe their child, like I would get them to read their books out loud on Seesaw and record their reading, or do a book talk on Seesaw. And the parents would see that and maybe watch them like stumble on a word, or watch them say something in the wrong order. And they would come back to school and be like, I worked on this at home, or my parents printed off the activity and did it with me at home. And I'm like, I didn't even ask you to do that. So the parents take on a lot of responsibility with it,
Mm-hmm.
which again is just like so like essential to any child learning, right? As
Yeah.
parents, it's almost just like that window into the classroom, right? Like they
Yeah.
feel like they're a part of the classroom and they know what it looks like, and the kids can explain what it looks like a lot better because they see it on Seesaw, right? They can be like, what did you do at school today? Oh, this is what you did at school.
Yeah.
So the purpose would definitely be like that whole connection, like all parties involved are on the same page.
Yeah.
And then having like our admin on Seesaw as well, they get to see everything that's going on in the classroom. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just, you don't have to spend time communicating or trying to explain what you expect or what it looks like, because it's just right there in real time.
Yeah.
And so the purpose would really just be that it connects everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess like there's always an underlying piece, like it's teaching them a lot about how to be on technology, how to use as a tool, the whole digital citizenship piece behind it. There's so many learning opportunities for that as well. But initially, and I think what will always be the purpose for me, is just that how it connects all those parties together.
Yeah, for sure. So did you struggle a little bit selling it to parents to get to get parents to buy in to Seesaw, or were most of your parents kind of on board?
I thought I would, because people have like warned me of that.
Yeah.
He said like, oh, it's going to take forever to get your permission back, or different things like that. But it has not been. Both my years, I've gotten it like right away. And a lot of that is due to my kindergarten teacher. Like our kindergarten classroom switched over to mandatory like digital portfolios on Seesaw.
Yeah.
And so that was huge, because then they come into grade 1 and they're just like, where's the Seesaw code,
Yeah.
And it almost sets up this like standard I found is when I do it in grade 1, like it looks very different from kindergarten to grade 1 right now anyways, which is interesting. But like you said, I think it'll just be getting those kids to put the devices in their own hands in the future. But it looks a little different. So then parents see like, oh, I can see how they're doing in class, or I can see their assignment and their mark and where they are, and where is this for my other kids that are in higher grades.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how parents, as soon as they see it being used, get right on board, and they're like, I want this for all my kids. So I haven't had an issue with them connecting. I find most parents are pretty like happy about it. I also think it depends how you use it. I think it can be used, maybe too much sometimes, like over communication. You have to limit when you're talking to people or when you're sending things home. Like I try to be respectful around that area as well, and just be careful to not like overdo. I try to keep it within the school hours and things like that. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of, you definitely have to use balance, and you don't want to become you don't want to become overbearing, I think, too, right? So and something like Seesaw, just because it is so powerful, you're kind of able to send your announcements or your little memos home or that sort of thing. That's what I found too, is I got a little bit of feedback my first year using it, and they were like, like, we just found it was like so much notifications and things like that I actually ended up losing parents, right? So just kind of like lessons for me too, I guess, using the
you got to choose I found that too, like choosing what is essential and what are things that they're uploading that might just be for your eyes and that you can use for assessment, but you don't necessarily need to send everything home.
And I guess what is really nice too is there is like a private folder that like teachers can just put like, I guess, student artifacts just for them, that is not sent home to parents. So I think that is that could be useful in that case too. So okay, and then the last question that we have is, what are some next steps, or how do you want to expand using Seesaw in the classroom?
Yeah, so it's interesting, like you said, with everything that's going on right now, and the release of the home codes, it's really interesting because that's a piece of Seesaw that we always wondered, like, how could we get them to do some things from home? Or, like usually before Seesaw, if they missed a worksheet or they missed an assignment, you could just send it home. But if it's on Seesaw, you can't really send that home. So I think that piece not only will be really useful for whatever happens with everything that's going on right now, but just for like future years when just using it as that blended learning tool, right? And being able for kids to do work at home. So that's one piece I'm really excited to try, and just sending more of those blended videos as well home. And getting parents to sit down with their child and use the technology together as a tool and access it that way as well. So I'm just pretty excited to explore the home learning piece and try some more blended approaches.
No, that is awesome. I'm super excited to kind of dive into a little bit more of the blended learning as well. I'm not super knowledgeable on the blended learning, so I'm kind of excited to see and keep up with your project and what you're doing. Is blended learning fairly similar to like a flipped classroom?
That was my first step. I was like, okay, what is the difference? Because I would search and like get both, and it's similar, like they overlap a lot. Blended is more the approach I wanted to take. Flipped is, I would say, it's almost a little bit more structured in terms of like doing things at home, and like school is just work time and learning is strictly at home.
Okay.
So blended, I found, is like you could do like send things home to enhance learning or to provide further lesson or instruction, and I just found it more flexible.
Okay, cool. No, that's good to know. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Yeah, thanks. That was good.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up our little interview / vlog here. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.